Science museums offer a variety of learning experiences to engage visitors. One of the most popular formats is the large group program, often held on a stage in the museum or as an assembly at a school, with an educator using props to explore a particular topic. On a recent visit to a second grade classroom to present a program on simple machines, students began asking questions as soon as the props were brought into the building. Can I ride the wagon? What's the seesaw for? These types of programs can be very successful in engaging learners and promoting interest in a topic. But how effective are large group programs in developing meaningful understandings? To examine this, the second grade class participated in 2 simple machine programs. Prior to the first session, students were asked to document their ideas on how simple machines can be used. As they had already been exposed to the topic through the beginning of a science unit, students had fairly consistent knowledge, but did not demonstrate deeper understandings. In some situations, misconceptions were exposed, such as machines doing the work for us. It would take some work on the part of the educator just to address these ideas. During the first session, a museum educator asked students about the ways that we accomplish work every day. Students brought up examples such as running in their gym and reading books. 6 simple machines were explored by having students come up to ride a wagon up an inclined plane, use a wedge to split wood apart, and lift up a classmate using a lever. Throughout the program, the educator repeatedly expressed a key understanding that simple machines do not do work on their own, but help us do work by spreading it out over a distance. One student even brought up the phrase "longer equals stronger" that he had heard previously. In the end, students appeared to enjoy the program, but to check understandings, they were provided with the same opportunity to express how simple machines can be used. Looking at their second set of responses, it can be seen that little has changed in their understandings. Students who were able to express what simple machines do were still able to do so, but on a similar level of understanding. Those who struggled prior to the program were still struggling to explain the purpose of simple machines. One cause for this could be the teaching approach used. The large group programs are based on a classical behaviorist approach. The audience is viewed as vessels to be filled with knowledge through ideas primarily expressed by the educator. When a student volunteers on stage, they undergo operant conditioning, much like Pavlov's dog. Given work to accomplish, they first discover that it can be difficult without the use of a simple machine. Once a simple machine is made available, the job becomes much easier. So students associate simple machines with making work easier, as their assessments show. The underlying reasons for making work easier are not a concern to students, since the behavior leads to the intended outcome, namely, getting the work done. To find out if students could gain deeper understandings on the nature of simple machines, a second program provided them the opportunity to work in small groups to discover how pulleys aid in work. In this case, the educator made use of Vygotsky's social constructivism to guide the experience. Scaffolding allowed students to reach understandings that would be difficult to do on their own. The educator used prompting to ask students to explain how pulleys allowed work to be more easily accomplished, by asking questions such as, how did the amount of force needed change when the second pulley was added? How much rope did you have to pull to raise the weight to the same height? Reaching these understandings were likely beyond what students at this grade level would be able to accomplish on their own. By making use of the zone of proximal development, the educator allowed some students to achieve a greater understanding with guidance. Since students were working together, the social aspect of learning was observed when they would often restate what a peer said to help explain their understandings. Students were constructing knowledge together, with the educator taking on part of the mental load, but increasingly turning it over to students. The situated nature of their understanding was also seen in how they would often reach out to the same materials they used in learning when providing explanations. However, even at the end of the second program, the educator was still finding misconceptions that were difficult to modify and needed re-examining through prompting. Students were asked to explain their understandings a third and final time after the second program. Some students did show deeper understandings and further context in which they could identify the usefulness of simple machines, but not all students reached this point. This may be the result of limitations in using short periods of time with students, often encountered in informal education. While large group programs serve an important purpose in museum education, they should not be relied upon for developing authentic understandings, but rather as a supplement to the learning process. However, modification of the format of these types of programs to allow for small and large group discussions would permit students to play a more active role in their learning and ultimately break down misconceptions to construct their own understandings.